Now, if you are to solve this crisis, the ANC has to be inward looking. It must be ready to conduct thorough introspection so that it can see where did it go wrong and what is it that can be done to put what is going wrong right. But it must also recreate an important ethic of the ANC that we were schooled in, the necessity to listen to the population. The ANC today finds itself on the wrong side of the moral sentiment of our people. You read about one scandal after the other in the state-owned enterprises. Some of our leaders get implicated in horrendous deeds of theft of public property and so on. All these things mean that we actually have people who have caused a serious deviation of the ANC from its own political culture.
Is it at all, and this is a question that I asked you just before this interview, is it because that things have been allowed to deteriorate so far that it becomes even difficult to salvage what's there? Whether you speak about corruption allegations against any senior member of the ANC, that the ANC takes too long even to deal with that person, if at all, they do investigate these allegations. In Mangaung, for instance, there was the Integrity Commission that was set up to help brand ANC in the light of in the face of these sorts of allegations. And some of these allegations have faced President Jacob Zuma, yet there's never been a point where President Jacob Zuma was hauled in front of the Integrity Commission to answer some of these allegations. And yet some may argue that the reason that brand ANC suffered during the 2016 elections is because of aspects including President Jacob Zuma.
Well, you know, if you look at the items on the agenda of the conference, you have such items, for instance, as renewal of the ANC. What is it that what we can do to ensure that our elected leaders are held accountable for what they do in office? So there is a sense in which we realize that some of the problems we are facing are systemic, and therefore if you are to deal with those problems, you will have to have a fundamental rethink even about how people get elected into positions of responsibility. What mechanisms do you put in place to hold them accountable, not only within the ANC, but if you look at the Constitution of the Republic, it provides for checks and balances, some of which checks and balances have been deliberately targeted, defanged, in order to make them useless. It's important that we have a real look at all these things and say what is it that we can do in order to ensure that people who are self-serving, rather than sitting in these positions as positions of service, are held in check.
But if the Integrity Commission, for instance, was a call to answer to those specific elements that you are raising right now, because it's not like the ANC is going to find brand new members who will become members of the NEC. It will still be the same people who have been part of this culture and part of this tradition, and what some people now say that this is what brand ANC looks like. What's going to change? What's going to be different when the Integrity Commission is there, but the Integrity Commission is being undermined?
Well, you know, when we talk about a rethink, it must include people saying, now that we have decided on the reorientation in terms of the direction in which the ANC is moving and taking the country, we need also to pose the question, do we have leaders amongst us who are fit for purpose? And I can tell you now, I'm absolutely certain that the ANC is not short of people who are sufficiently concerned about what is happening in the country.
Are they then, if that's the case, are they then complacent? Are they then culpable for the state that the ANC finds itself in? If there are capable leaders inside the party, yet the party has suffered so much, should those people also be found guilty of being complacent and culpable?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, if you are going to have plus minus 500 people assembling here in Johannesburg from the 17th to the 19th of this month, you must expect those people to say, where did we go wrong? Was it through acts of omissions and possibly of commissions as well? That's what we mean by introspection. So there may well be instances where even good people, wittingly or unwittingly, were culpable for some of the things that happened. As Oliver Tambo was saying when he was addressing the first ever legal conference of the ANC after 30 years of illegality, he said, whenever we faced problems, we did not seek to sweep them under the carpet. I'm paraphrasing him. We did not seek to deny that we have problems. We confronted them head on. The current leadership of the ANC, it's in denial. And it's high time that the membership does what we expect it to do next week, to say to the leadership, wake up and smell the coffee.
What happens to the end result, whatever draft document that comes out of this National Consultative Conference?
Well, what comes out of the conference can no longer be a draft. It's a decision that conference shall have taken. But this is a conference which is consistent with the political traditions of the ANC, that whenever the ANC found itself facing serious problems, it created conditions for serious dialogue amongst its members. Now, those moments in history like Morogoro in 1969 and Kabye in 1985 stand out as important benchmarks against which we measure ourselves. Now, this is going to be yet another benchmark which hopefully will set us on a better trajectory.
We'll take it seriously, though. Let's be honest about this one, because there was the call for the National Consultative Conference to be delinked from the policy conference. That didn't happen. President Jacob Zuma, when opening the policy conference, called the veterans, so-called veterans, really speaking down on the veterans of the ANC. Who will take this seriously?
And you are aware that members of the ANC who were at that conference were beginning to find it difficult to take him seriously for doing that.
But he remains the president.
He remains the president, but he's not a president in perpetuity.
So what happens now?
What happens is that there is more and more, or rather a growing constituency within the ANC in favor of the consultative conference. That is why we are not short of ANC cadres that are coming to this conference. And by the way, they will include members of the current leadership of the ANC. They will include members of the current leadership of COSATU, the current leadership of the SACP, the current leadership of SANCO. Now, they don't come more serious than that.
There's also been an invitation, obviously, to the presidential candidates. Do you hope that these new presidential candidates, or ever become successful at the end of this conference, would be the person who would be able to implement some of these resolutions that have been taken by the NCC?
Well, we've had meetings with them. Not a single one of them, at least, has said to us that this National Consultative Conference is not necessary. As a matter of fact, some of them have gone public and said this is an initiative worthy of supporting, and they said they will be attending it. So we are happy that there are people of substance who see sense in what we are doing.
You said during the press briefing that the ANC faces a risk of instability, and you mentioned what's happening in the Eastern Cape. What sort of instability do you think the ANC faces ahead of this conference? Will this conference even happen?
Yeah, it's not just a potential instability. The ANC faces the reality of instability. When you end up at a conference in the Eastern Cape with so many people having to be taken to hospital, when you end up with the outcome of the conference being challenged in court, be it in the Eastern Cape or in KwaZulu-Natal, and now recently in the Northern Cape, that must tell you that you have a leadership that lacks the political capacity to deal with political problems.
Do you foresee the same happening with the national conference, with the National Elective Conference, the same level of, I don't know, violence, chair throwing, even the risk of the conference being challenged after it's been concluded?
Yes, many people who encouraged us to go ahead with the initiative of organizing a consultative conference said that maybe this will help us forestall the possibility of a messy national elective conference. So indeed, people have got good reason to be fearful.
Do you think it's possible, though, that it could be challenged in court?
No, I don't know about challenging it in court. We hope that this consultative conference will add yet another instrument which the membership needs in order to avoid chaos at the December conference.
Thank you so much, Sydney Mfumari, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lord.